Welcome, food travelers. I'm Simon.
And I'm Micah.
We are in our last day in Houston, Texas, and we started the day off with a stroll in the park.
And where are we headed to for breakfast today, Simon?
We are headed to Mademoiselle Louise.
Yeah, this is a French bakery here in downtown Houston. It's located right by the Sky House. There isn't very much parking, but it is a great walk here.
Yeah, I believe from our hotel it was about 6 or 7 blocks away. It's a nice little local spot that had some really good stuff to eat.
Yeah, the staff was really friendly here. There was also a plexiglass or window where you could actually watch them make their baked goods. Unfortunately, while we were lining up there, they weren't doing anything yet until we were leaving.
Yeah, we missed that shot, but they were very nice as staff. The owners do speak French themselves, so if you are fluent in French or you want to practice your French, you can use it there for ordering.
Yeah, and going back to the owners, when they made my mocha, they actually kind of made a mistake on the art itself. They later came out, apologized about it, and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake here."
And I also ordered a mocha, but I also ordered with that the raspberry almond Bostock, and that was a very delicious dessert to start off the day.
And for the pastry, I had the pumpkin spice latte. It was really good. It had the macaron shell on top. All the flavors you expect from a pumpkin spice latte, but same time nothing mind-blowing. It was $7 for this thing. There was caramel in the center. It was sweet. If you were to come here, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one unless you really want a PSL.
After breakfast, we headed over to Hermann Park. This is a pretty substantial sized park. The Houston Zoo is also located in the vicinity of this park. I actually found this park pretty cool place to go to. It's actually a lot of places to walk, and one of the things I really thought it was cool was seeing the little kind of train that you can ride on that kind of takes you all around the park.
This park does have a lot of birds just laying around. There were some really big ones. I don't know what kind of birds these are. I would watch out for them. I don't know if they'll attack you or what if you get too close.
And from what I can tell, it seems like when we were there, it was around lunchtime, noon or so, and there was a lot of people out and about just walking around and kind of relaxing on the day and enjoying the outdoors.
That walk around the park, we headed over for lunch to Blood Brothers. Blood Bros is a Texas barbecue. They are a kind of like an Asian fusion or an Asian inspired barbecue here. I thought it was kind of interesting place. The line was really long when we got there. We arrived about lunchtime. It was already out the door into the parking lot.
Yeah, and I believe kind of more to specify the Asian infusion, it seemed more kind of closely tied to Vietnamese kind of flavors infused with Texas barbecue. It was a very interesting place. Since we've had other places, we definitely had to compare, and the barbecue was very good, especially if it's up to where we are located in the Pacific Northwest. However, it just wasn't quite onto the same level as the other places we have been to during our visit here in Houston.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think their barbecue was as great as the other places that we went to in Houston, but it was nonetheless still very, very good barbecue. I ordered the pulled pork again, and I also had the brisket. I thought the pulled pork was a little dry. I did have to use a lot of the sauce that they provided. I also was kind of disappointed that they did not put the sauce on the table. They only gave us little sampler sizes that you can dip into.
And for me, I ordered the pork ribs. I ordered the one with the rub and not the glaze. I also had the brisket as well as the banh mi. It's a smoked pork banh mi. As Micah mentioned earlier, overall the barbecue is good, but compared to the others, it's just not quite at that level yet. I definitely believe they can get there. One of the things I wanted to point out was the banh mi. The bread was good, which is always great with a nice crispy and chewy breaded banh mi, but I actually prefer just the regular ones that you get probably at another place where it's just your normal grilled pork banh mi. The flavors wasn't kind of out there. It was pretty dull in my opinion, so it was just an okay banh mi sandwich.
I think one thing I really enjoyed seeing here was seeing the three guys who started this restaurant actually still working inside and serving all the customers. Oftentimes you come to these barbecue restaurants and they get so big, they just hire all the crew and you don't even see the actual owners themselves.
And you can see their technique is still very well done. They do have a great bark on there. There's great smoke rings around the ribs and the brisket. It's one of those things where you kind of feel bittersweet because it is still very good, but at the same time, because you've eaten other ones, it just makes it much more difficult to really say, okay, it's at that level. And one of the things I do want to stress is that definitely they have the capability to get there.
And from what I heard and saw online, I'm not sure how much of this is true, but I did hear that they may be opening up a franchise location out in Las Vegas in the resorts world. And like all barbecue places in Texas so far, while you're at the counter, you can watch them cut everything up in front of you, weigh it as well, so you know that you're getting the amount that you requested for. There's a guy who comes up first for the sides, and then it's the meats. And after lunch, we headed over to the water wall, an iconic landmark in Houston. They recycle about 46,500 gallons of water, and it is about 360 foot long. It is a very peaceful place, great place for taking pictures for your social media accounts, doing all your TikTok dancing. Great background.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting landmark. I really enjoyed that as you walk around, you kind of hear all the water just falling down and drowns out the city noise and kind of everything else around it. That helps to the tranquility and the peace that you get at the landmark. One thing to note also is if you are taking pictures, that all the water falling down, that creates kind of a mist in the air. So, you know, if you do have some of those electronics that are pretty sensitive to water or any kind of water droplets, just something to remember to make sure you take care of those electronics so they don't get damaged. So for dinner, we actually waited a little bit longer since all that barbecue kind of hangs around with you for a while. So we ended up having a late dinner. We walked actually to a place called the Underground.
It's called the Underground Food Hall, and at the Underground Food Hall, we headed to the Pho Fix.
So the spot is pretty kind of a hip spot for the Houston area. There seemed, from what I noticed, a lot of a younger crowd that's there to kind of eat. It's kind of an underground food court with a different variety of things to choose and pick to eat.
Yeah, and they do have some arcade games around the corner and a lot of seating for everybody to eat there. The place we went to is called the Pho Fix. We both ordered the same thing. We had the Pho Supreme. It's the one pho dish that they had that included all the meats, like the beef brisket, the oxtail, and the bone marrow.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of stuck out to me was that offering of the different type of meats. I thought that was pretty interesting, and so that's what drew me to this dish. You know, having a bone marrow and having oxtail and rib all together at one time. You know, in my mind, I kept thinking, oh, what could go wrong?
Yeah, I really appreciate the generosity of this dish. They gave so many pieces of the oxtail, something like 3 or 4 pieces. Many places only give, like 1 or 2 pieces at most.
Yeah, they definitely followed that Texas motto of, everything is bigger in Texas. So that was part of it where they offered a whole bunch of different meats.
One thing I do wish was for the oxtail, actually not the oxtail, but the beef brisket itself to be done a little bit better. I thought it was a little bit too chewy for my taste.
And for the kind of the soup, it had a little bit of a sourness to me, in my opinion. Even though adding the lime, you know, usually adds that little kind of fresh citrus flavor over to the pho. But in this case, every time I took a bite and had a bit of the soup, it just left a sour taste in my mouth. And so, at least from other pho that I've had before, that's kind of something that I'm not used to too much.
Yeah, that broth of that pho was a little bit too clear for my taste. I would have like something a little bit more bold, a little bit more flavor to it. I feel like that is the one thing they can improve on.
And I also wanted to note that the oxtail, I kind of wished also that was cooked for a little bit longer. It seemed a little bit more on the chewier side than I'm used to. Usually oxtail, you can get it to pretty much fall off the bone. In this case, you kind of had to kind of bite into it and rip it off. So it wasn't quite as tender as I would like it to be.
And the last thing, the bone marrow, it was a nice piece to have on the side. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything special about this one.
And unfortunately for this last day for us in Texas, we kind of didn't really have anything that we could kind of put on our notables list, which we usually like to showcase something that we enjoy a good amount. And in this case, there was just kind of none. So there's nothing for today.
Yeah, we usually add something notable. Unfortunately, there really is nothing spectacular on this last night here in Houston. Everything was good overall. It just was not that. It just lacked that extra punch where it was notable. And to support our channel, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for the YouTube algorithm. And for more photos, follow us on Instagram. See you guys on the next episode.